Hello, everybody. So I am Connor. I'm joined by Shane, Alex, Tan, and Gopi, and this is the Impossible Project. We are trying to eradicate white supremacy in the education system. And so when we look at the problem and we zoom out, we see a society that encapsulates stereotypes and racial bias within our institutions. And we find that this is epistemological, this is within our understanding of the world, and we're trying to undo that. And so when we zoom in, we find at the curriculum-based level, a single story narrative that needs to be deconstructed, a single story that emphasizes white European-centric history and the United States history as a problem that only reinforces racial stereotypes and doesn't prepare people to become critical thinkers, capable of understanding complex scenarios and really being able to reflect on the seriousness of these topics. And to see them and their deeply rooted impacts. And so when we try to create a link to how we got here, we see similarly, Christianity is a good example of that pedagogy, that epistemology, that understanding of the world and how it actually formed and created an understanding that was deeply rooted in racial bias. And before racial bias, it was non-believers and Christians, creating a superiority complex for Christians against the non-believers. And this became ingrained into a racial categorization in Spain and led into white supremacy as we know it today. This epistemological understanding, this understanding by only being fed what we understood or what we thought we understood within the Christian worldview, created white supremacy. And now if we're in a system today of white supremacy that is ingrained in our system, all it's doing is reinforcing. And so when we look at our education system, this specific textbook, it calls the transatlantic slave trade basically a migration. It calls the slaves workers, and it de-emphasizes and erases history. And that's a blatant disregard for the complexity of history. And it creates a single story, and it helps further a narrative, an epistemological idea, understanding, and it creates a single story narrative. And so our solution, firstly, is to refute that single story. We have to challenge that basic, and we have to unlearn that single story. We have to dethrone and decolonize the curriculum. We want to include diversity. We want to start to read of different ideas, of different topics, of ideas that are relevant to history, of events that are relevant to history, that include a broader array of members, of diverse, racially diverse members. And so we unlearn through learning, but we have to reimagine our history curriculum altogether. We have to create classrooms that are inclusive and community and discussion based, that encourage critical thinking and group working out through groups. We're anticipating a lot of resistance within school districts, so we're also trying to encourage community members to participate. We're trying to seed a community-wide movement, organizing, grassroots organizing of teachers and educators, parents, nonprofits, and local groups to help see their community become transformed educationally. And so when we take a look at our solution, the single story curriculum and the current history curriculum will be fed into our algorithm. Well, that's being fed into our algorithm. We're also going to take a look at topics that are often neglected and left out of history. We're going to have input by educators, professors, and academics, community level input of people who are representing diverse backgrounds and would like to see more diversity. And it's going to be fed into our metric. Our algorithm is going to show us what's missing. There's going to be a metric of the curriculum showing what's missing based on what we've been told is often missing of that specific curriculum to be proof. And then we're also going to suggest diverse materials from a database connected with educators and members of the community to help spread it around. And our plan is basically to make the prototype and include our educators from both sides of professors and teachers, have sample worksheets from local organizations, and encourage stakeholders of churches, nonprofits, nonprofit educators, youth programs, after school programs, to create courses outside of the classroom that can be used to help further education and to create a movement that will later impact the school district. And so that is our plan. So thank you for listening.